The Man in the Cloak, Part 2, marked by the dagger. The boy did not speak of what he saw in the forest, not because he didn't want to, but because something inside him refused to let the words form. When the elders questioned him, he only stared. When his mother held him, asking what had happened, he trembled, but said nothing. And when night came, sleep did not bring rest. It brought him back, the forest, the silence. The figure in the cloak. Every dream began the same way. He stood alone among the trees, the markings carved into the bark glowing faintly around him. The air was heavy, unmoving, watching, waiting. Then, the sound of something dragging across the ground. He would turn slowly, and see him, the dark cloaked man, closer each time, always holding the dagger. The blade looked different in the dreams, longer, darker, almost breathing. The boy tried to run in those dreams, he always did, but his legs moved slowly, like the forest itself was holding him in place, like it wanted him to stay. And just before the cloaked man reached him, he would wake, gasping, drenched in sweat, and every time he would feel something burning on his skin. At first, he thought it was just fear, a reaction, a memory clinging too tightly, until the marks appeared. It started as a faint line on his arm, thin, almost invisible, but over the next few days, it spread, twisting, curving, forming something deliberate, the same symbol carved into the tree. The elders saw it, and their fear was immediate. "This is not a wound," one of them whispered, "it's a mark." They tried to hide it at first, wrapping his arm in cloth, keeping him away from the others, but fear has a way of spreading faster than truth. Soon, the whispers began. He brought something back. The forest chose him. He's not the same. The boy heard them, even when they thought he didn't, and at night, the dreams grew worse. The forest was no longer empty, now there were shapes between the trees, not human, not animal, watching him from a distance. And the cloaked man was no longer just walking. Sometimes, he was already there, standing right in front of him, close enough for the boy to see what should have been a face, but wasn't, just darkness, shifting, endless. One night, the dream did not end when it should have. The cloaked man stopped in front of him. Slowly, he raised the dagger, and instead of striking, he held it out, offering it. The boy tried to step back, but his body wouldn't move. A voice filled the silence, not loud, not spoken, but present. "You belong to this now." The boy's hand moved on its own, reaching forward, just before his fingers touched the blade. Another presence broke through the darkness, the light-cloaked man. He appeared between them instantly, faster than thought. His hand struck the dagger aside, the motion sharp, controlled. For the first time, the dark-cloaked man reacted with force. The air around them twisted, the trees bent unnaturally, the silence cracked like something breaking. They did not fight like men, they moved like forces colliding, too fast to follow, too unnatural to understand. The boy fell to the ground, covering his ears as a sound tore through the forest, not loud, but deep, like something ancient resisting. The light-cloaked man turned toward him, for just a moment. And though his face was hidden, the boy felt it, a warning, do not take it. Then everything shattered. The boy woke violently, his body jerked upward, breath sharp, heart racing. The darkness of his room pressed in around him, but something was wrong. His hand felt cold. Slowly, he looked down, and froze. The dagger lay across his palm, real, solid, not a dream. The same blade, the same shape, the same symbol carved faintly into its surface. The boy dropped it instantly, scrambling backward, but it didn't make a sound when it hit the ground. It just settled, like it had always been there. The next morning, the elders gathered again. This time, their fear was no longer hidden. "This cannot continue," one of them said, "the mark is spreading." The symbol had grown, now stretching across the boy's arm, its lines darker, deeper, like it was being carved into him from within. Another elder shook his head. "This is beyond us." "No," a third said quietly, "it is exactly what we were warned about." Silence fell over them. They all knew the stories older than the village itself, of two beings bound to the forest, two shadows that walked like men, one that brought death, one that held it back, and the dagger, the object that tied them to this world. The boy sat in the center of the room, unmoving. Listening, understanding more than they realized, because deep inside, he could feel it, a presence, not fully there, but not gone either, watching, waiting. That night, the village changed. No one left their homes, fires burned longer, doors were sealed tightly, and the forest felt closer. The boy sat awake, staring at the dagger placed carefully in front of him. The elders had told him not to touch it, not again. But something about it called to him, not loudly, not forcefully, but constantly, a pull he couldn't ignore. Then, a shadow passed by the entrance of his home, slow, still. The boy's breath caught. He turned his head slowly, and saw it. A figure standing just beyond the doorway, the dark cloaked man, closer than ever before, not in a dream, real. The air grew heavy instantly, the faint sounds of the village faded into nothing. The figure didn't move, didn't step forward. He didn't need to, because this time, he was already close enough. The dagger on the ground began to tremble, the boy's hand twitched, and without realizing it, he reached for it. Outside, another figure appeared in the darkness, the light. Cloaked man, still, watching, not stopping him, waiting, as if something had changed, as if a choice had to be made. The boy's fingers wrapped slowly around the dagger. The moment he touched it, the mark on his arm burned, and the darkness in the doorway shifted. For the first time, the cloaked figure stepped inside. Stay tuned for the next episode.